Hello, I'm Dr. Kayleen Asbo, music historian in residence for the Santa Rosa Symphony Orchestra. I want to invite you to our upcoming concerts in January, where we will be auditioning our fourth candidate for music director, British conductor Graham Jenkins. This particular concert highlights the tensions and the contrasts between the two Greek gods of music, Apollo and Dionysus. Apollonian music is elegant, refined, graceful, ordered. It's a music with clear form, hierarchy, a sense of politeness, grace, and beauty. Dionysian music walks into a wilder side. It's music that uses brass and timpani and exults in the rhythms of the dance with a kind of ferocious energy that is unpredictable, with shifting meters, shifting rhythms, clashes of dissonance, moments of tension, and moments of unbridled joy. The first half of January's concerts, we will be living in the Apollonian realm, with the two composers who most exemplify the Apollonian spirit, Franz Joseph Haydn and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Haydn is often credited with being the father of the form of the symphony. Genial in nature, he was often called Papa by younger musicians who adored him, and especially adored his sense of whimsy, wit, and playfulness that was never too far and never, ever rude. The symphony that we're going to hear, number 100, is one of the great favorites of the orchestral repertoire. Bright and lively, it's nicknamed the Military Symphony because, in fact, it does have reference to military bands. We will have more brass instruments than we usually do, and from time to time there will be little bugle calls that make us think of military action. But it is a piece of grace and charm throughout. Each of these four movements stirs our emotions, but not to the point of being terribly disturbed. There are some beautiful, elegant threads throughout, and every once in a while there is a shadow. For example, in the slow movement, there's a little bit of a shadow as he quotes his dear friend Mozart in a fragment of the Magic Flute, as if he is wistfully thinking about the beloved younger man who had died at an all too early age. This piece will showcase our conductor's ability for crisp, clear direction, for communicating a lightness and transparency of sound with buoyancy and with grace. We'll segue after the Haydn into the Piano Concerto number 21. Beloved by audiences for centuries, this is one of Mozart's great musical masterpieces. As Haydn was the father of the symphony, we might suggest that Mozart was the king of the concerto. He himself took this form that he had inherited and he developed and polished it to an extraordinary gem-like state. In this, we find this unfolding of a relationship between the orchestra and the soloist. You might think of it as being a moment of wooing. The orchestra will first introduce the main theme, and they will politely hand it off to the soloist. The soloist then, just like an 18th century dance, will curtsy very politely and flirt, but not in any way that would be vulgar. In this particular piece of music, we have then this lovely and charming theme heard both by the orchestra and the soloist. Isn't that graceful and charming? We'll also be introduced to this absolutely delicious second theme that is one of those melodies that just leaves you humming and whistling and smiling. Mozart gives us one delicious pearl after another in this concerto, in a work that is filled with elegance and grace and beauty and charm, good taste and moderation, all of those Apollonian virtues. After intermission, we are going to take a walk on the wild side. This will be Bartók's last work, the Concerto for Orchestra. Bartók wrote this piece in a state of enormous pain. He was actually dying of leukemia when he was visited in the hospital and given this commission to create a monumental work which would showcase the capacities of the major players in the symphony orchestra. He took on this challenge with great zeal and delight, seeing in it the opportunity to expand his own musical horizons, to go into uncharted territory, to bring forth a sense of new possibilities. Bartók writes this work then in a way that celebrates the darkness and the light, that pushes the edge like Dionysian music does. This Concerto for Orchestra is a tour de force. It will require the virtuosity of every single one of our principal players. They will have their chance to shine, showing off their technique and showing off their exuberance. This is an ideal piece with which we might be able to glimpse Graham Jenkins' capacity to direct a complex, demanding 20th century work of virtuosic proportions, and to see if he is able to find within it both the qualities of Apollo and Dionysus, the Dionysian exuberance, but the control. It's going to be quite an audition. The end of Dionysian art was intended to take us to the thresholds of collective ecstasy. Let's hope that that's exactly what we encounter in this concert. A journey that will move us from realms of elegance and grace to wild passion and dancing in the face of death. January 13th, 14th, and 15th at Weill Hall at the Green Center in Sonoma State University. I will be meeting with Graham Jenkins on stage an hour before each of the concerts. We'll talk about both sides of music, about the order and form and the wild passion, and how Maestro Jenkins plans to lead the orchestra to find that magical place that fuses both sides and brings us to that place of profound joy. I invite you to get to know Maestro Jenkins more deeply. Attend the dress rehearsal on the afternoon of January 13th, or be sure to come to our interview question and answer session an hour before each of the concerts on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. If you'd like to explore more about the history of classical music, I invite you to join me for Musical Mondays, an ongoing series here at the beautiful Petulama Historical Library and Museum, where we will dive into both sides, Apollo and Dionysus, and how they come together in the Baroque era. I look forward to seeing you at one of these celebrations of the human spirit in musical form. I'm Dr. Kayleen Asbo, music historian for the Santa Rosa Symphony. I hope you'll be part of this ongoing adventure.